Okay, class, I'm going to make a few little short presentations on cellular respiration, and hopefully this will help you understand it a little better. You need to remember that cellular respiration makes about 38 ATPs from one molecule of glucose. Now, if you've gone over your PowerPoints, you know that there are three parts to cellular respiration. The first is glycolysis, followed by Krebs cycle, ending with ETC, or electron transport chain. And this is a little rough diagram of a mitochondrion. All right, the first thing you need to remember is that glycolysis only makes 4 ATPs. So we've got 38, but only 4 come out of glycolysis. So what does glycolysis do if it only makes 4 ATPs? Well, it's primarily prepping glucose so that it can pass through these other two parts of cellular respiration. Now, Krebs cycle makes primarily hydrogen buses. And they're hydrogen electron buses that can be used in ETC. It only makes 2 ATPs. So out of these 38 ATPs, so far only 6 have been made. 4 in glycolysis and 2 in Krebs cycle. So that brings us to ETC. And ETC makes most of the ATPs from glucose. It makes about 32 ATPs. All right, now, where do these phases occur? Well, glycolysis always occurs in the cytoplasm of the cell. It is outside the mitochondrion. Now, Krebs cycle occurs in what's called the inner compartment, and I've colored it red here, of the mitochondrion. ETC, though, occurs on these highly folded membrane called the cristae. That's where all of the metabolic processes of ETC occur. And you need to remember that. You need to remember how many ATPs are made in each one of these phases. You need to remember where they occur. And then you need to remember if they require oxygen. Glycolysis does not use oxygen in any of the metabolic processes. So glycolysis is called an anaerobic process. An, right here, means without, and aero, right there, means air. So glycolysis is an anaerobic process, doesn't require oxygen or air. Krebs cycle, on the other hand, is called aerobic. Now, it never uses oxygen in any specific metabolic process that occurs in Krebs cycle. However, here's the thing to remember about Krebs cycle. It will not occur unless there's sufficient oxygen in the cell. So because it won't occur without oxygen, it's called aerobic. It requires oxygen. Now, ETC is the phase of the 3 that actually has a chemical reaction using oxygen. And it's the last chemical reaction in the chain. And oxygen becomes the last acceptor of all of these hydrogen electrons and protons that are going up and down, well, mostly the electrons that are going down the cristae. So ETC is aerobic. Now there's a third fact to remember. You need to remember how many ATPs do they make? 4, 2, 32. Total of 38. Need to remember where do they occur, these phases? In the cytoplasm, in the inner compartment of the mitochondria, on the cristae. And then you need to remember, is oxygen required? No oxygen is required for glycolysis, so it is anaerobic. Oxygen is required for Krebs cycle, so it is aerobic. Oxygen is definitely required for ETC, so it too is an aerobic process.